Hail, hail, boys and girls. Welcome to episode 10 of the Celtic Minded podcast. I'm Frank and he's Tommy, joined by the Celtic legend that is Frank McGarvey. Frank, there's a couple of times we've had our podcasts and we've had to decide whether the glass was half full or the glass was half empty. Quite frankly, I don't think there's any debate right now. The glass is half full. Celtic are playing well, and Postecoglou is proven to be the manager that we needed.
Yeah, well, I've said that for day one. I like this man. He's got a bit of character about him. He needs time, but all the managers need time. Look at David Moyes. Need a wee bit of time at West Ham, and I watched them last night beat Liverpool 3-2. What a manager he is. So this Angie needs a bit of time. Already, the last two games have been extremely exciting to watch and very good in the eye. But we've lost goals in the last two games, and especially against Dundee, we lost 2 goals, which I was a wee bit disappointed with. But I've got one thing that I've seen in this game against Dundee, which might be incredible, and if it is what I think it might be, it'll be so wonderful for Celtic, is 2 players playing up front and get chemistry. I seen that in the game yesterday, and there's only a few players had that. Keegan and Toshak had it with Liverpool. Dalglish had it with Rush. And
you had it with Nicholas.
I had it with Charlie Nicholas, and Andy Cole and Dwight York had it. They won the Champions League for Alex Ferguson because they two had chemistry, and I seen a bit of chemistry between Kyogo and Jota, and it was borne out by the two of them scoring 2 goals each in a very exciting game. And also one other thing that I seen in the Dundee game which made me very happy was, I continually say, if these teams are going to go 1-5-5 against you, the best way is to get to the byline and chip the ball back. And all through the game, Celtic done that yesterday. I don't know if the manager has told them to do that, but they've done it all day long, and that's why they get so many chances of scoring goals, and it bears fruit that they got 4 goals against 2 players. We're talking about the other big boy playing, but I think Jota and Kyogo, and also, I know I'm going on about, I'm like Tommy here, talking too much, but Kyogo, every time he plays, Celtic don't get beat. So the manager, I know he wants to keep him fresh for the end of the season, but every time he plays, and the stats back me up, every time he plays, we don't get beat. So I know I'm giving you a lot of information there, Tommy. I'm going
to sound like you now, because obviously you were sounding like me. So it's only fair that I get to sound like you, because you're right about the stats up to a point. Because he started one game. He started one game that we lost.
I'm just letting you remember you that.
Yeah,
stats don't lie.
But he said when he starts, we don't lose, and we did. Because he started against Bayer Leverkusen, right? So anyway, your boys have been in touch with me. They've said, look, you need to correct my dad, because sometimes he makes points and he can't back up. Now I don't know, does that happen often? Maybe at family gatherings you're saying things and the boys are having to correct you.
They're always trying to get one up on me, and I keep beating them all the time. So they've started complaining to you. It's a sad day for them.
I think you're absolutely right. I think the front 3 right now against Ferencváros, I mean, the fact that each of them scored, it was very dead appropriate, wasn't it? Abada scored, Kyogo scored, Jota scored, fantastic. And then you go to the game yesterday against Dundee, 2 great goals from each of them. I thought Kyogo's second goal was just outstanding. I mean, it was great work with Jota, great move, lovely wee cutback. But it seemed to be the ball was behind Kyogo, and he just got his left foot round it, unstoppable. I mean, I just think they two in particular, in my opinion, Frank, I think they're top drawer. I think they're quality. Abada, personally, I like the wee guy. I think he puts in a lot of effort, but he's nowhere near the finished article yet, and he's probably out of the three, he's still the weakest link. But Frank, can we talk about those two games without mentioning a revelation in the shape of Anthony Ralston? How well has Anthony Ralston been playing?
Oh, he's improving. I think he's improving because what I've seen already is Celtic maturing into a team, all helping each other, all trying to, and that's the kind of team that I played in the early 80s. We all helped each other. If somebody was having a bad game, we'd help them, and that's what it's all about. And it's very important now. But the thing that excites me, as I said already, is Jota and Kyogo having this chemistry. If that's now, it happens every 10, 15 years in places, and I've seen that yesterday, and that's what's made me really happy. And scoring all the goals and very exciting football. It's very enjoyable just now. But the most important thing that the managers try to do is make this team a team with everybody helping each other, and that's exactly what is starting to happen.
Frank, I am of the opinion that the goal-losing side of it could possibly, because if you remember, you and I have been discussing in recent podcasts how they'd started to have clean sheets, and you have been going on about this since day one of the podcast about how important it is to have a defence. It's everything. And yet, we were beginning to turn it around. And I wonder if, I know he's had a hard time, and it took him a wee while to settle in, but Starfelt was beginning to come into a game, and then we lost him to a hamstring injury during the Livingston game there, and we've lost goals in each of the games that he's not played. So I think it's unfair. The boy Welsh has been on the sidelines. He's been asked to come in the last two games, and in those last two games we've lost 4 goals. So there must be something there that tells you that Starfelt and Cameron Carter-Vickers had a relationship that was beginning to work.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's so important. If you can get, I remember playing against Neri and Hegarty and Miller and McLeish. Now, Aberdeen and Dundee United were getting into European Cup finals and semi-finals. Dundee United get into the semi-final of the Champions League, a team that are crowd about 8,000 every week, into the semi-final of a Champions League, and it was all because they had a good defence. Now, a good defence will take probably 2 years to build up, so we're not looking for anything overnight, and Angie should have plenty of time. I think he'll be there for a wee while. He'll have plenty of time to sort all these things out. Now, you cannot beat knowing what a player's going to do. In the 1985, Roy Aitken get the ball out in the right wing, and I knew that Roy was going to have one touch and then put it in, and I said, I better get in the box. I knew what Roy's going to do. That is part of a teamwork, and I get in and I scored that goal. Probably the greatest goal I've ever scored or ever hoped to score, and that's what a team is all about. But I hate to go on about it. I'm getting very excited about Jota and
Frank,
and Kyogo having chemistry. If that's the case, wow.
It's dead interesting you make that point. It's brilliant to hear you, someone who's done it, someone who isn't just talk the talk. You've walked the walk. You've actually been there, played in cup finals, played in these important matches, played in different teams over your 5 years at Celtic, and saw the moulding of different teams. And what I think you're putting your finger on here is that interchange, that understanding when Jota gets the ball, what he's going to do with it. Kyogo's running. I mean, he's running off the ball. It's just phenomenal, isn't it? He doesn't necessarily do a lot on the ball, but he does loads off the ball. And then when he gets set up, I mean, look the way he scored that header. I mean, he's a wee guy. But he got in front of 3 big Dundee defenders simply by giving a wee shrug of the shoulders and then a run across the defender. Brilliant. So if you're right, I think it is exciting times, because if they're beginning to develop that chemistry, then it could augur very well for the future. I do think, and this is, it's good to be a Celtic fan if you weren't asking for improvements, right? I do think January is key for us. I think we need a couple of other players. I think 2, maybe 3 other players just to give us that wee extra part, wee bit of quality. I think we Abada needs a bit more competition, and I think we need some more pace maybe in the middle of the park.
Well, I don't disagree with you. You can always improve your team, but and you're right about all the positions. There's no problem. We've got the hardest 2 positions is getting 2 good centre forwards that understand each other with chemistry. Now that's the biggest thing you can get in a forward line. Nothing comes bigger than that. So that could be the future for Celtic, and if it is, we're going to see some amazing goals with they 2, and we've seen it yesterday. The understanding each other for Jota to give Kyogo that pass, and what a goal that was. It's very, very good. It's very pleasing in the eye. I love watching the game, and it was 4 goals, and it could have been a lot more.
Oh, jeez.
It could have been a lot. I loved. I don't know if Ange's told him to get to the byline and chip it back the way. No defence in the world can cope with that. It's simple as that. David Problem used to get the ball and he used to go to the byline all the time. He would square it back, he would angle it back, he would do wee chips to the far post, to the near post, and he always had side spin and top spin. So defenders hadn't a chance. So if you can do that, which Celtic done brilliantly yesterday, then there's a lot of, I can't believe I'm saying all these things, but I'm only telling you what I'm watching.
And there's a belief now, isn't there, Frank? Because I actually went into the game on Thursday night, the Ferencvaros game, watching it, thinking we were going to win. And it was away in Hungary at the Hungarian champions, a hostile crowd, and I just felt we've got enough in here to win.
Well, I didn't.
They're only a great team, don't get me wrong. Ferencvaros aren't a great team.
They're not a good team. But I didn't think they would beat them over there. I thought if you get a draw, you're doing well. And I would have been happy with a draw. But the way they went out and attacked Ferencvaros, it was incredible. And then came back from there. And going abroad takes a lot of energy out of you. There's no doubt about it, and they came back.
Big Ange said that, didn't he? He said what was particularly pleasing about the Dundee game was because he was a bit worried that there would have been a wee bit of a loss of energy, a loss of tempo, but they didn't show it. But the other point about his interviews yesterday, which fills me with so much hope, Frank, is he said, we're very far from the finished article.
Yeah, and I would agree with him. It is very far, but the signs that I see are very exciting, and he's got to say that anyway because he needs time. I know that he needs 2 years. There's David Moyes. He went back to West Ham. He needs a wee bit of time, and look at them. They are flying because what I love about West Ham just now, they're not getting any superstars or anything. Everybody is playing for each other in a team.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And you know what? That whole idea that you'd mentioned there about giving the managers time, isn't it great to see a guy with a Celtic background like David Moyes, a Celtic player through the Celtic Boys Club, and you know I thought he had an unfair time at Man United. I thought he got very little time at Man United.
Listen, anybody that went to Manchester United after Alex Ferguson was there for all the years, won European Champions League Cups and leagues, and what a team. For anybody to go there after Alex Ferguson was there, it was going to be very, very difficult for them to do really well. And everybody's saying, oh, it's a shame David Moyes, he gets sacked at Manchester United. David Moyes made a fortune by getting sacked at Manchester United. I don't really feel sorry for him.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yes, fair point. Big. I felt sorry for him because his skills and his talents were questioned. He then went to Spain and he never had as good a time as he would have liked. But I think deep down that guy has dug deep and said, I am a good manager, and now he's proven it. And I fair play to him. Talking about managers, you did ask me what this was all about here. Our wee prop for today. the wonderful Che Guevara, who wasn't a manager. He wasn't a manager. He was one of the leaders of the Cuban Revolution, 1959.
The Cuban?
Love the man. A tremendous hero of mine politically. But it's got a wee inscription in the back. It says, Tommy Sheridan, 6/11/21, Newry. And what the wee story, I need to tell the wee story about this, Frank, because I was in Newry on Saturday night, and it was a very fateful date, because not everyone will be aware of this. But on the 6th of November of 1887,
a year before Celtic was formed,
there was a meeting took place in St Mary's Church in the Carlton.
I know what it is.
Right?
There.
And that meeting involved Brother Walfred, who took the decision to form Glasgow Celtic as a football team to raise money for the charity to feed the poor kids of the East End, put food on the dinner table of the East End kids charity. Celtic was formed effectively on that night, 6th November. A few weeks later, Brother Walfred, along with John Glass, went to a house in Cathcart. And they went to the house to ask a guy to join this fledgling club, this new football club. They went there to speak to someone from the Maylie family, who came from Newry in Ireland. And that guy that they went to speak to was called Tom Maylie. And he wasn't in.
He wasn't in?
He wasn't in.
What happened?
And before Brother Walford left, he turned to his brother, his younger brother, Wally Maylie.
Wally Maylie?
And he said to him, Wally, why don't you come along with Tom? Right? Because Tom was there. That fateful meeting in December of 1887 led to a relationship, Frank, between Wally Maylie and Glasgow Celtic that stretched over 50 years. Because on the 28th of May, Wally Maylie was only 19 at that time. By the time Celtic played the first game of 1888, which was played on the 28th of May against Rangers, and guess what the score was?
What?
5-2 to the Celtic.
My God.
Wally Maylie played in that game.
Still losing goals in the days.
Wally Maylie played in that game, 28th of May, 1888.
That's incredible history.
He went on to have a very good playing career, but 9 years after that, he became Celtic's first manager. At the age of 29, he became Celtic's first manager.
That must have been hard for him.
And this is the point that I have to make. He inherited a team that at that time was reliant on a policy of trying to buy success. They used to buy players for other teams. And Maylie brought a new discipline. Wally, when he came to Glasgow from Ireland, he was actually into athletics. He was more into athletics than he was into football. He was very, very fit. He was a 100-yard sprint champion. He was brilliant. And he had discipline. He had lots of discipline.
You've got to have that.
And what he did, what he brought to Glasgow Celtic was a philosophy of recruiting young players from Glasgow and Scotland and turning them into stars rather than buying success. Yeah. And he also believed in A, discipline, and B, open attacking football. Yeah. And during the period, Frank, not everybody's aware of this, but during the period 1905 to 1910, Wally Maylie led Celtic to 6 championships in a row. It was the first time it had ever been done in Scottish football. In a row, 6 in a row, first time ever done.
What happened to Rangers at that time?
Well, this is the point. The Rangers were already well established. They were some of the big kings on the scene, but they were defeated by Glasgow Celtic 6 in a row. And also, 1907 and 1908, he managed to win League and Cup doubles, which had never been done before. Never been. So this guy leads Celtic to the first 6 in a row, leads Celtic to the first League and Cup double, first time in Scottish football. And then in the interwar period during the Second World War, he established something that became a record in British football. 62 games undefeated. 62 games undefeated. Again, building a new team. And that record it's quite fitting if you think about it, Frank. That record
never
stood...
be broken.
No, it stood for over 100 years, 101 years exactly, because it was broken by Brendan Rodgers. They went 69 games undefeated. So Celtic created the record, and then Celtic broke the record.
That's an amazing record.
And Wally Maylie was the manager of Celtic for 43 years. 43 years manager.
He was either a brilliant manager or there was terrible managers.
Well, during that period, he won over 30 major honours, won 16 league titles, 14 Scottish Cups. And here's the point, and it's in the song. His name, Wally Maylie was his name. It's in the song because he also, in 1921, June of 1921, he signed a wee guy, only 5'6". 5'6", wee guy, who was playing junior football at the team with the famous St Roch, who I think you had a try away and it never quite worked out.
Never, I don't want to talk about that.
And he went and he signed this young guy. He was only, I think he was only 19 at the time. And
I think I know the guy.
He signed this young man as a striker. He farmed him out for the first couple of seasons. So he might have been actually younger because I think he played with Third Lanark and Clyde. I may be wrong on that, but he definitely farmed him out, Frank. But that young man went on to become the record goal scorer in British football.
In world football, maybe?
He has got a world record in terms of 550 goals scored. He was the top European striker for 2 seasons. He's Celtic's all-time greatest. I know you've scored over 100 goals and that makes you a legend.
No, I'm nowhere near him.
But nowhere near Jimmy McGarvey was his name. Yeah. Jimmy McGarvey.
And what, to score 500...
And Wally Maylie.
I don't care what time you played it, to score 550 goals. I'm amazed just now at Ronaldo and Messi scoring over 100 Champions League goals each. I think that's amazing as well.
Incredible. So the guy who had the eye to see this potential was Wally Maylie. He signed Jimmy McGarvey and gave us one of the greatest forwards ever. And here's the rub. I've just told you about a guy who was our manager for 43 years, who played for us for 9 years, whose very DNA is in Glasgow Celtic. He was one of the few, and when he spoke at the 1938 centenary dinner, 45 years centenary dinner in Glasgow at the Crown Plaza Hotel, he said he was the last survivor of the small ship that launched Glasgow Celtic, right? Because he was one of the ones that was the founders, along with Brother Walfred and John Glass and a few others, but he was the last survivor. And this is the point I'm going to make. Born in Newry, I visited his birthplace at the weekend, and there's no statue to him.
No, it must be a statue.
There's no commemoration to him.
Oh, that's terrible.
A few years ago, a good Celtic supporter went to look for his grave, Frank, in Cathcart Cemetery. Went to look for where Wally Maylie was buried. Couldn't find it. Contacted East Renfrewshire Council. They gave him the plot number. He went and visited the plot, and you couldn't see Wally Maylie's name. The memorial had fallen over. So his name, you couldn't see it. The Celtic Grave Society adopted that as a project, and within a year, they raised the money to restore the plot so that if you visit Cathcart Cemetery now, you can see where Wally Maylie and his family are buried. A fitting tribute to a man who was Mr. Celtic.
Yeah.
Why don't we have a statue to that man in his birthplace? And that's what the Wally Maylie Memorial Group in Newry are doing right now. And do you know what, Frank? They invited me to speak at a meeting on Saturday night. Over 400 at this meeting, fundraiser. They set a target of £60,000. That's how much it's going to cost to build the statue, right? They've raised 40,000 already.
Oh, easy.
They've raised 40,000 already. And this is my appeal, Frank. This is my appeal to the Celtic family. The Wally Maylie Memorial Group have done a brilliant job on their own in Ireland. The Newry Celtic supporters and all across Ireland have done a brilliant job, over 40,000. They need another 20,000 to make this project real. And I'm appealing to Celtic supporters in Scotland and across the world. Please get involved with this campaign. Please turn this whole story into a memorial. I've got to say, and I don't want to sour things, I think Glasgow Celtic as a club should have done this years ago, right? I really do. However, it's grassroots. We've got to do it as supporters. I raised a wee idea. I think they'd already discussed it, Frank. But why? I'm told, I'm no a brickie, but I'm told it takes about 1,000 bricks to build the plinth. What about selling a brick that you get your name on as a Celtic supporter to the plinth that Willie Maylie will stand on for the rest of our lives?
Tommy,
£67.
I hate to say this, but surely the Celtic board can give that money for that. If they don't, then that's. I think I had a jersey, and one of the best things I've ever done. I was a wee bit skint at the time, and I had the 85 jersey, and I said I was going about a lot of places in Glasgow, and I seen a bit of poverty going about, and I said, I've got that jersey in the house. I said, I'm going to auction that and give it to the food banks. And I copied what Celtic done in 1888. I wanted to copy that. I had that jersey, and I sold it. I thought we'd get £1,000 for it to give, and it went for £3,700. If I'd known that, I would have... No, but I gave the money, and I think what Celtic should do is hand them £20,000 and get it over and done with.
Well, do you know, Frank, what you've just described there is the ethos of Glasgow Celtic. It was set up as a charity to raise money for the poor, to put food in the tables of the starving kids in the East End of Glasgow. And by the way,
and
no discrimination. That's the point.
That's the most important thing. All kids in Scotland.
Brother Walfred was actually inspired by the Irish immigrants in Edinburgh who had set up Hibernian for the same purpose years earlier. So the whole ethos of Glasgow Celtic was on the basis of charitable causes, of helping the fellow human beings, human solidarity. In fact, I talked about that dinner, the Jubilee dinner, the 50-year Jubilee 1938. It wasn't in the Crown Hotel, it was the Grosvenor Hotel.
I thought that.
And he said, I am the last survivor of the little band that set out heroically to launch the Celtic ship. Right? That was Willie Maylie. Well, what you did with your jersey, Frank, was you were prepared to sacrifice a wee bit for the benefit of the greater good. And I'm appealing to the Glasgow Celtic family worldwide to help the Willie Maylie Memorial Group. Let's get this statue built.
But I only done that because I played for Celtic. I didn't make great money at Celtic or anything like that, but I played for Celtic, and I seen the jersey every day in the cupboard, and I said, that's got to go. And that is why I sold that jersey. I wanted to be part of Celtic's history and helping poor people.
Fabulous. Listen, please be part of Celtic's history. Please get involved with the Willie Maylie Memorial Group from Newry in Ireland. Let's spread this campaign worldwide now, particularly here in Scotland. Willie Maylie was very proud of his Scottish roots. Willie Maylie, although he was born in Newry, played for Scotland. Played for Scotland. He says in his book, Frank, that it was one of his proudest moments was to win a cap for Scotland, playing for Scotland. So from that point of view, there is a Scottish link and there's an Irish link, just like Celtic. I mean, when Brother Walfred chose the name Celtic, it was to emphasise the Gaelic basis of Ireland and Scotland together. And that's why the name was chosen. So please, brothers and sisters, boys and girls, get involved with the Willie Maylie Memorial Group, and let's turn this dream of putting a statue to Willie Maylie in Newry, in his birthplace, recognising his contribution to Glasgow Celtic. Let's turn that into a reality. Frank?
I don't see any problem of that becoming a reality, especially with the kind Celtic supporters. But I would like the board, they always say we do this, we do that. I would like them to take part as well.
Thanks for watching. Please share the video if you've liked what you have seen. Join us next time. Hail, hail!